It is now my pleasure to introduce MSMS incoming President Dr. Jim Grant. Dr. Grant is a practicing anesthesiologist from Oakland County. He has held numerous leadership positions at MSMS, the Michigan Society of Anesthesiologists, and the American Society of Anesthesiologists. He proudly served as a delegate to this body before being elected to the MSMS Board of Directors, and now President. Please join me in welcoming your next President of the Michigan State Medical Society, James D. Grant.
Thank you, everyone. And before I'm going to start off my script going off script, I'd like to thank my friend, my mentor, my good buddy, Dr. Ken Elmasian, for a career dedicated to medicine, for a year dedicated to every Michiganian, and I can't thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you've done for the organization and for me personally. And thank you all for the profound honor and privilege of being the 149th president of this great society. Tonight begins a year-long journey to travel the state, to serve as your spokesman, to be your voice, and to advocate for you and your patients. And I'm deeply humbled by the faith you've placed in me. We went to medical school. We finished residency. We went through the rigors of board certification so that one day we could dedicate our lives to taking care of people. But as you know, our careers have become much more than that. The practice of medicine is going through changes the likes we have never seen before. Small private practices are slowly dwindling away as they're being purchased by mega health systems or merged into large national and regional groups. We're moving into a world where it's more about value and less about volume. Performance metrics are more than a buzzword now, but are a reality for each and every one of us. Just a few short years ago, no one would have ever known what patient experience means. Now it's vital to everything we do. Our world has become increasingly complex, but with these changes, it gives us the opportunity to mold our future. The challenges we face are increased bureaucratic hurdles, more regulation, pressure to reduce costs, and increased demand by sophisticated patients who are on the internet every day reading about everything that's known to be. I can't tell you, just the other day, about a week ago, walk into a patient's pre-op room, introduce myself. Patient goes on to tell me, oh, I know who you are. You went to Wayne State for medical school, you did Northwestern, you got board certified in this year, and you just got recerted. I guess you know it all. How'd you find it? I Googled you. Okay. There's no secrets. It's a whole new world now. Medicine is still the greatest profession in the world. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, and we've all heard it in here, I sure hope my kids don't go into medicine, only to see them ecstatic and proudly beaming when their son or daughter is accepted into medical school. So despite all the obstacles, we have record numbers of medical schools opening in this country with far more applicants than we have spots for them. We have a new problem now. We're at the point where we have more applicants for America's residencies than we have positions. So despite all the naysayers, our kids still show us that they want to go into one of the greatest and most gratifying professions in the world. With challenge comes opportunity. And instead of sitting back, we have to take this as our cue to forge ahead and lead us into a bright future. Healthcare is changing, but we should build the future and not be afraid of it. We need to be the ones who create the agenda, not the ones reacting to it. If you think about it, we really have three options. One, we can resist change and yearn for the way things were. Two, we can submit to change and just let someone else make all the decisions. Or the best one, number three, we can drive change and shape and take the lead of the practice of medicine and the delivery of health care. 84 years ago, Sidney Garfield founded the Permanente Medical Group. And at that time, Sidney developed the concept of prepayment and what we really know today as accountable care organizations. Things didn't come easy for Sidney. People didn't like the idea of change. He was down. When he initially encountered some resistance, this is what Sidney Garfield said. Institutions tend to become static. They build walls around themselves to protect themselves from change. And you know what? They eventually die. You should fight that by opening up your thinking and your ideas and work for change. But where will we lead this change? Where are we going to lead it? We're going to lead it from the exam room. We're going to lead it from the operating room. And yes, we're going to lead it from the corner office. And this means leading, not managing, but leading. As leadership expert John Cotter once said, management is about planning, controlling, and putting appropriate structures and systems into place. Leadership is anticipating change, coping with change, and adopting a visionary stance. Each and every one of us must lead an agenda that sets a vision that appeals to people's hearts and passion. We will not manage, we will lead. And what is the difference? A manager will tell people what to do. As leaders, we will sell our vision. A manager will minimize risk, while a leader will take risk. A manager will make the rules, while a visionary leader will break the rules. A leader will challenge the past, think outside the box, and plow through whatever it takes to effect change. Health system reform needs to be driven by us. This doesn't mean controlled by us, but led by us. Leadership is about building bridges towards common goals, and we need to be sure that we are leading the teams that are driving the changes forward. Your patients see you as a leader, but this also means leading by example. We don't realize what an impact we can have by just doing what's best for our patients, for our staffs, and for our system. It's not about any one of us in here, it's about all of us. Leaders create change. Leaders set examples. Leadership is proactive. Leadership takes courage, and leadership accepts criticism. And most important, leaders communicate. In 2009, there were 6,500 hospitals in America. Only 235 were led by physicians. That translates to about 3.6% of America's hospitals, and that number actually has just reached a plateau. Let me go over some of the hospitals that are led by physicians. The Mayo Clinic, UCLA, Houston Methodist, the Cleveland Clinic, Nationwide Children's. These are some of the greatest organizations in healthcare, all with differing healthcare delivery models, but all led by physicians. Just a few years ago, a study reviewed physician leadership in healthcare found that the overall hospital quality scores were about 25% higher when doctors ran the hospital. And let's look locally. In February, the University of Michigan and Ohio State finally agreed on one thing. They both named physicians as their next presidents. Physicians are driving the agenda. You have a voice. Physicians are heard. Legislators want to hear from physicians. Policymakers want to hear from physicians. The media wants to hear from physicians. In every aspect of life, whether you have a title or not, you are there to affect change. We know that medicine's changing, so don't run from it. Embrace it. We can choose to live in the past and live with the consequences, or we can create our future. You don't have to be standing where I am today to be considered a leader. Membership is just the initial stage of leadership. By being here tonight, you are a leader. I challenge each and every one of you, every one of you leaders, to bring in 5 more leaders, leader members in the next year, because the greater our numbers, the more potent is our strength. We are a great organization and an organization for the future, but we cannot and will not rest on our laurels. You will see an even better MSMS, an MSMS that leads, an MSMS that drives change, an MSMS that is here for your patients, for you, and all Michigan citizens. You will succeed, but we will succeed together. And we will not give up, and together we can conquer anything. Let me illustrate a point. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a personal story. Years ago, I was probably less than 10 years old. I remember my father, who's sitting in the back, he handed me this little paperweight that always sat on his desk. My siblings and I had been fiercely fighting with each other, like we normally, that's how we talk. He sat us down and showed us a story that was written on this paperweight. It was about a bunch of sticks. In the story, the father gave each child a stick. He said to them, "Break the stick." Each child snapped the stick in half. "This is what happens when you stand alone," he explained. Then he gave each child another stick and told the children, "You know what, tie them all in a bundle. Now try to break the sticks." None of them could. What's the moral? When we are with one another, nothing can break us apart. I want to take this opportunity to introduce my family, who supports every endeavor I do. I can't see them, so I'll just introduce them sort of where they should be. Oh, there they are. It's my wife, Lisa, who's videotaping this. My father, Judge Barry Grant. And if this doesn't make life simple, my mother, the same name as my wife, Lisa Grant. My daughter, Alexandra Grant. And behind, it must be my son, Brendan Grant. There he is. Nobody can do anything without a strong family, and I owe you guys everything. Everyone in here today is a leader, and you are going to lead change. And because of you, the leaders of healthcare in Michigan, you're going to make Michigan the greatest place in the country to practice medicine. I leave you tonight with two quotes. And in the spirit of bipartisanship, one is from a Democrat and one is from a Republican. And believe it or not, actually, I have a Kennedy quote in there too. I was hoping it wasn't the same one, and thankfully it's not. But these are two presidents on extreme opposite sides of the political spectrum, but really with similar visions for our country. The first is from President Dwight Eisenhower, and this is what he said: "Neither a wise man nor a brave man lies down on the tracks of history to wait for the train of the future to run over him." And the next is from President John Kennedy. And if you take away nothing else tonight, I want you to remember this quote: "Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss the future." Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you all for your leadership, and thank you for building a future that we can all be proud of.